right. So before we get going, I always ask, is there anything that we shouldn't talk about?
Uh, we can't go like too in depth on the SpaceX stuff. 'Cause
Okay.
I'm not allowed to like represent the company.
Yeah, that's fine. Can I talk about it or can I ask about it like briefly?
Yeah, I mean we can say like that I work there or whatever, but
Yeah.
I just can't really like say anything that would come across as like me making a statement for the company. or
Yeah,
anything
no,
like
that's understandable.
Yeah.
And then if we do accidentally say anything that you want me to take out,
Yeah.
feel free to take a pause. Or even if you just remember at the end, just let me know and then I'll take it out.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Give me 1 second. 2, 3. All right. Welcome back to another exciting edition of Danny Frank's Walks of Life. I'm joined by the Jeff Turman. Jeff, how are you?
I'm doing great, Danny. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me. We are actually here in your brand new house in Pomona, California, sitting in the backyard. It's a nice, lovely summer day. Thank you for having me back here, man. Before we get going, can you tell everybody your name and a little bit about what you do, your background?
Sure. Well, I am Jeff Turman. I'm a stand-up comic. I'm trying to remember what I wrote on my Instagram profile. I'm a stand-up comic, a rocket ship builder, and a history nerd.
Rock on. That's a powerful trio.
That's me.
That's pretty good. When you say you're a rocket ship builder, we don't have to go into it really, but explain that to everybody, because when I came in, you were actually sitting down watching something returning back to Earth.
Yeah.
And that's from the company you work for, right?
Yeah, it was a big moment today for SpaceX, which is where I work, and we had our first crewed mission came back today, so that was pretty exciting historical moment for our company. It was awesome.
Right on, dude. Yeah, it's nice to see that we're back in the space game in general, regardless of who the company is. Like, it's awesome that we might actually see people going to Mars in our lifetime.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
If not more, right? Like, and we were just talking about like how insane it is to come back from space, or how insane it must be. Like, you haven't been using your legs in X amount of days, and like you haven't been pooping and wiping like you normally would. Like,
it's got to be weird.
Yeah, it's super weird. But like, do you think you could ever be an astronaut?
I wanted to go. Like, that was like a childhood dream of mine. I always
Really?
wanted to, yeah, big time. Like, I kind of kept it a secret because I was a little embarrassed once I got older. But like, I went to space camp when I was a kid.
No way.
All that, yeah, dude. I wanted to be an astronaut bad. Like,
No
bad.
way. I never knew this, man.
Yeah.
Have you talked about this on stage?
No, I haven't. You know what?
Why not, man? There's a lot here, I'm sure.
Maybe I need to sit down and do some writing exercises with it or something. But it's like every time I've tried to incorporate something about it, just wasn't able to make it something that hit for me. So,
well, what was space camp like when you were growing up?
I mean, it was a little weird because I was a kid. I was like 10.
Yeah.
And I went with my dad. So it was like, it wasn't like one of these things where you're like 12 or 13 and you're off on your own and it's like just you and a bunch of kids like wreaking havoc and doing whatever. Like, it was a little different because everybody was with a parent. So, it was just like a different kind of experience than maybe like you might have thought about from whatever you saw in TV or magazines or whatever.
Right on. And like, did you meet cool people? Did you do cool activities? Like,
oh yeah, dude, it was dope. We did some model rocket building. We did a bunch of training, a bunch of little exercises, and then the whole thing culminated in these like mock missions that we crewed. So you did 2 missions, one where you were like mock flight crew, so everybody had a role
That's rad.
on like, at that time it was still space shuttle. Everything was space shuttle. So we did a mock crewed mission, and then you did one as like mock ground crew. So then you had a different role, or your roles like corresponded in some way, but you just flipped places with somebody.
That's crazy, man. And like, did you have like a preferred position that you wanted to play, or?
I was dope. I was like a mission specialist on our mock flight, which was awesome because I got to do they called it an EVA, an extravehicular activity. So I got to do like a faux spacewalk.
That's cool, man.
It was pretty cool. Yeah.
That's right. So, and when you say a faux spacewalk, it includes like faux anti-gravity, I imagine.
Kinda. What they did was they like strapped you into this kind of a chair deal, like sort of like looks a little bit like gym equipment, but what it was this chair that you're sitting on, and I think it was on some kind of an airbag or something.
Cool.
And then there was like the instructor would be behind you and kind of guide the thing so it wasn't going crazy. But you had some sort of control over it, but it was mostly like steered around like by the instructor with you kind of like guiding the thing along with yeah, see, now I'm struggling to remember. This was what, almost 30 years ago. Dude, I'm fucking old.
Hey, dude, it happens. I'm in my 30s too, and it's cool. And how awesome is it that you even remember going there?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, we got plenty of time to lose our minds. But,
oh yeah, it's happening all the time.
Yeah, like, is camp even a thing anymore? Like, I'm not even sure. Like my nephew's never considered. We've never considered taking or sending my nephew to a camp. I'm not sure if they're really that popular anymore.
Who knows, man? I don't know.
Like, I'm not sure either. It's been a damn long time though since I feel like I've seen space camp commercials, because I feel like there's a while there in the 90s where it was like a big thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was like a bigger deal during the space shuttle era.
Right. Yeah. Definitely, for sure. When we were actually actively going out into space. That's what's kind of a trip to think that we stopped doing that for a while. Like we lost so much momentum.
Super weird.
Right? Progress
Super
that we could have made. Yeah. Like what did we do that was more important? Destroy the world, right? Like. Anyway, though, man, it's crazy. I'm glad you went to space camp, though, and like maybe that's why you work at SpaceX now.
Who knows?
In a weird way.
Who knows?
You never joined the Air Force or anything, right?
No, I never served in the military.
No. If you had the option to join the Space Force as an adult, now, do you think you'd jump at the opportunity?
I mean, I think I'm aged out of military service at this point. I'm 38, so I don't
know, man.
I think like
the
join
Coast
up
Guard
is
might still take you.
no kidding.
I think
I'm good, man.
Yeah. Just trying to explore that, man. So, getting back to you, like, where'd you grow up, man? Obviously, you didn't grow up at space camp.
No. I'm a South Bay kid. I was born in Torrance. I grew up in Torrance and Redondo Beach,
cool,
a little bit in Lomita, so all over the South Bay.
Right on. Yeah. What was it like growing up there?
Man, it was cool. Like it's a cool place to be from. It's pretty chill. Everybody's pretty laid back. It's a nice place. The beaches are close by. It was a cool place to be a kid. I liked it a lot.
Right on. Did you skate or surf or anything like that?
Not like some of my friends were like pretty hardcore surfers and a couple of skaters, but that was sort of like a subset, like their own little community. Like I always had a skateboard. I learned how to surf later in life, but never like.
It was never your thing.
No. Those guys were like if you were a surfer in the South Bay, like you were a surfer. You guys.
Yeah.
Those guys went out a lot.
Those guys are kind of territorial, I think, right? Like those are the kind of locals only vibe type of surfers. Like when I think of that type of surfer, just the term locals only, I think of like Redondo, Hermosa, that area for some reason.
There's a couple of breaks that have that we knew about. I mean, I don't know if there's others. Like I said, I wasn't like super into that world, but there were definitely like a couple of spots that were famous for like locals only, and like had legends of dudes getting beat up or whatever for surfing the wrong break. But
it's so weird to me, man. Like I feel like sometimes you'll encounter that in areas that have comedy that also have surfing. They kind of share that mentality. Try not to like implicate myself too much or implicate anyone too narrowly, but yeah, I feel like I've encountered that. It's never made sense to me. It's a weird attitude to hold. Like
totally,
you want to claim ownership to the entire ocean. It's just naturally occurring.
It's weird in stand-up too. Like you don't have. Nobody's got the corner market on jokes.
Yeah, dude.
Get out of my face.
Just be funny.
Yeah. And do you. Like, whatever you do doesn't take away from what I want to do. So who cares? Like,
exactly,
chill out, man.
So with that in mind, did you always want to be a stand-up comedian? Did you always want to try comedy, or how'd that come about?
I think it's like, for me, it was one of those things where growing up, I always felt like I was a little funny, but I was shy.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't always let that side out because man, it's hard to explain, but I imagine that a lot of people probably feel this way. Like, I wanted attention, but I didn't want to seem like I wanted attention, and I wasn't comfortable if people paid too much attention to me. So there was like a little like bipolar in there of like, I want your attention, but don't look at me.
I feel it.
And I didn't really know. I don't know, man. It's hard. It's hard to remember like as a kid, but I definitely like remember watching comedians when I was young. It was something that we would do. My sister and I, or like even the family would sometimes sit down and watch comedy. So it was something that was always in my head, but I don't think I really thought about it until later in life as like I should try this out.
Well, what was the final straw? Like, do you remember?
Before starting stand-up?
Yeah, like what led you to actually go out and do it? Because I know that personally, like I went to comedy shows and clubs for a long time without even thinking that I'd ever try it before trying it.
Me too.
And I can kind of think of the circumstances that kind of led me to do it. Was there anything different in your life that kind of made you realize like I should try this?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I even have a bit that I don't use as much as I used to about it too, where I mean, honestly, stand up for me, a lot of it was almost like part of a midlife crisis in a way.
Yeah.
I remember I had told my ex-wife that I was thinking about trying stand up, and I do use this part on stage, but she goes, "Why? You're not funny."
Oh, thank you, Bish.
And so after
Ex-wife, right?
Oh yeah.
Good.
Oh yeah.
Good.
After we split up, it was kind of one of those things where there were a lot of things. Totally. There was a lot of things where, like that, where I was like, well, I didn't do this, and some of it was like direct, like that was pretty direct, where I felt shut down, and some of it was just indirect, like, oh well, I'm not going to do this because there's more important things to take care of or whatever. But I had a lot of those sort of moments. Yeah, I went camping by myself. I took myself on a long vacation back east. I went skydiving. There was a bunch. No, it was awesome.
Yeah, okay.
All of it was awesome. Like the vacation by myself was it was such a rad adventure. Like and it wasn't like totally alone. I had friends that I visited along the way, and some of it was like completely solo, and some of it was like I visited my sister. I visited a friend in Philadelphia, and then some of it was just solo, just rolling by myself, just to kind of like be out in the world and be alone. I don't know. I've always kind of liked that sort of thing. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I like that too.
Oh, we got a little wind. Nice. Yeah. But yeah, there was a bunch of that stuff. Skydiving, and I think I said that already. But yeah, there was a bunch of those little like kind of midlife crisis-y things that I was doing, but they were a lot of
testing your
like,
mortality.
Totally, dude. It was just like, well, let me show myself that I can do things for me. That I don't have to do these things. Like everything doesn't have to be geared around someone else.
Yeah.
Like it's cool for me to. It's cool, and it's not necessarily selfish for me to take care of me, do the things.
No,
that feed
not
me.
at all. Yeah.
And comedy was one of those things. That's where I was going with
Oh,
it.
my bad.
No, you're cool. I was like, why was I rambling about that? Yeah, dude, like stand up was like one of the last things that
on your bucket list of things to achieve, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily like using like the bucket list term just because it sounds like, oh, let me just check this off and be done with it. Like I'm gonna get on stage and pick up a mic and kill and then walk away from comedy forever or whatever. Like it wasn't one of those moments. Like it was just like proving it to myself that I could go and do it. And then once that happened, you know, I realized like how good it felt, like how right it seemed to be able to get on stage, to be able to make strangers laugh, to like be out there with the people that I saw on the scene and admired on the scene and like earn their admiration as well. You know, it was a big deal for me.
Where'd you do your first mic?
In downtown LA, the Clown House.
Oh, really?
I think that was that my no, check that, I'm wrong. I went to the old NoHo Fourth Wall.
Oh,
that was my
on.
first mic, and then Clown House was the second one. But I mean, I know it's cornball and people like people will hate on it, but like I took one of those like comedy courses. That's why I was thinking of the Clown House, because it was at the Clown House.
It's all right. Wait, so you took your comedy course at the Clown House?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's
Really?
Yeah, it's with Adam Barnhart, and it's one of those ones. You know, you go, you do it. It's 6 weeks or something, and then it culminates with a show in the Belly Room. And so, like, for me, it was like, well, if I never do anything else, I'll be able to say that I performed at the Comedy Store. So
Yeah.
that was kind of why I did it. And then along the way, you know, it kind of took something else, or became something else for me.
What was that like for you, performing at the Comedy Store? Did it feel incredibly nerve-wracking or
Yeah,
surreal?
it was a little bit of that nervous energy, you know. Like you were saying, dude, I'd been to a lot of shows. I had been going to the Comedy Store for a while, and I'd seen a lot of comics that I really loved, and people that made me laugh perform on that stage. And so to be up there was it was pretty cool, man. Like, it's hard to describe in just like a word or two, but it was a pretty great feeling.
I can only imagine, man. That place is very special and unique, and the history there is insane when you really look at it. Like, there's too many stories, you know, to fill even just one podcast episode.
Totally.
You know, we just had Earl Skakel on the last episode, and I can't, or not last episode, a couple episodes ago. You know, and I can't wait to have him come back and tell some of the stories that he has there from there one day, because yeah, that place is crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean, it
much has
definitely
happened there.
For whoever in the audience that's listening, like, there's a couple levels of shows at the store. Like, there are like promoted shows that are done by like independent producers, and then there's like actually being at the Comedy Store, like Earl. So just like not to presume that, like, just because I've shared a stage with those guys that I'm that level of comic, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, that's not what I meant to set up either. But it's just insane. Just even walk through the hallways as like an aspiring comedian, like, you feel the energy there, right? Like,
Totally.
It's insane to think too. If you go there, you look at the wall, and there's all these names of people that have been made paid regulars, and there's so many people that have gone through such an intense journey in their own right, and just to think about all the things that all these people have gone through to get their name on the wall.
Absolutely.
It's insane, man. So with that in mind, though, do you have any favorite comedians or anyone that comes to mind for as like inspiration?
Yeah.
Not even that you necessarily like have their same style, but just people that make you want to keep growing.
Yeah, dude, totally. I love Bill Burr, which is probably like a pretty played out answer at this point in the game. Like, he's so big and like such a success story. But I really admire the way that he goes about the business, the way that he works, and I just like, I love that style. Like, that rant comic is like my favorite thing. I kind of try to do it sometimes on stage. I don't know if it fits my persona or not, but I like it. It makes me laugh one way or the other. So I love him. I love Chris Rock is probably like one of my favorite, might be my favorite all-time comic. Guys like that. But I mean, I also like Hannibal Buress. I also like kind of like the more like weird, introspective, absurd kind of comedy sometimes. That's definitely not what I'm good at. At least like,
but you
it's
can
not
still
something
be
I've been able to
inspired
do.
by it.
Totally, yeah.
Like, we can't all be Zach Galifianakis, but we can all recognize why he's funny.
Absolutely.
Or like Mitch Hedberg or whoever, you know.
And that's one of the cool things about stand-up is there's just like, there's so many ways to do it.
There really are, yeah. Comedy in general, like I remember reading somewhere that a joke was anything that made anybody laugh. You know, and as abstract as that is, it kind of does fit that definition, right? Because a prank is a joke is a joke, a written essay can be a joke, a satirical essay can be a joke. It's funny. Humor takes on many forms. And I think I'm realizing in my own style recently that, like, I want to strive to just be funny above all else. Like, I think in my mind there's a while where I was like thinking like I need to carry a message, but not necessarily. Sometimes being funny and being able to just be funny is the more important skill, and I feel like everything else will It's come in time.
Dude, absolutely.
But is there anything that you want to create or do with your comedy? Like, did you ever want to aspire to have like your own show or sell out Madison Square Garden, or is it just something that you've kind of come to do because you wanted to prove to yourself and kind of see where it leads?
So it's kind of I don't know, there's a little bit of like two sides of the same coin thing. Like, on the one hand, I've started to recognize, and like you and I have had personal conversations about this along the way, but I've started to realize that I'm definitely like a love of the game guy. Like, I've had to kind of step back. Like, when I started, I had these like big dreams, like I guess we all do, you know, of like I'd love to have my name on the wall at the store. I'd love to be able to perform in any club. I'd love to be able to tour. I'd love to be able to be a working comic and not have to have a day job, and I'd love that, you know? But at the same time, there's also something to be said for like for being a comic who it doesn't matter. Like, it's not about making. Like, making it is about making your comedy. Like, making it should be making comedy, not getting famous, not making money. Like, when I don't know, man. It's like I've had to come to terms with like what I really want to be is a love of the game guy.
Yeah.
Like, and if success comes with that, then fantastic. You know, like that would be awesome. Like, I'd be elated. I'd be on cloud nine. But dude, if I never make another dime from comedy, I'm not gonna stop doing comedy. You know, like it makes me happy. I'm doing it because I love it, not because I think this is a way for me to have a
profitable career.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's hard to explain that to some people that like I've explained to coworkers like my journey, especially early on into comedy at the beginning. Like, you're really proving yourself and like cutting your teeth, trying to fit in and just not feel weird everywhere. And like, I've told people these stories of like humiliation that are pretty common. You know, like, I feel like we all go through these weird, humiliating moments. Not that like it's a bad journey in total, but like you got to go through embarrassing stuff and weird stuff. And to explain to this person that, you know, has never gone for their dreams, why you're willing to go out there and be crazy and risk it all for really no money most of the time, and very little recognition most of the time. It's kind of a baffling thing, but like, I get it, man, because like at a certain point it becomes almost a therapeutic exercise to engage and create some sort of comedy, right?
And I think there's something to be said for just doing something that inspires you. Like, I mean, like, in my personal life, like, some of it might be circumstantial or what have you, but I mean, like, I remember talking to coworkers and like having nights where I'd be out at shows in the middle of the week and then not being home until like 12:30 or 1 o'clock in the morning, and then turn around and I go to work at 5 a.m. Sometimes I go to work at 4 a.m., you know, turn around, sleep for 2 or 3 hours, get up, go back to work, and them being like, dude, you're nuts. What are you doing? Like, that, you got to sleep. But I was so hyped up that like,
and
that,
you
like,
don't
the
want to
hype
miss it, right?
Right. Yeah. It was like, here's an opportunity to do this thing that you love. Like, why would you miss that? Why would you turn that down? Like, there's always going to be another day at work, you know, but I think a lot of us probably feel that way. Like, I know there's another day at work. Like, if that was Wednesday, there's Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
Like, I might never get asked to do another show again. Like, that's probably not going to happen, but I might never get asked to do another show.
There is always that fear, though, in your mind, right? Especially now with like everything on an indefinite hold.
Yeah.
When it comes back, like, they're not going to want all of us little guys necessarily. So we're going to have to keep creating our own opportunities, which is fine.
Well, I mean, we produce shows. It's not,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's nothing new.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of crazy that there's like literally nowhere doing it right now.
Yeah.
With the exception of a handful of spots that are doing it, which are, I don't know. I don't know if that's good. I don't know if that's bad. If it works for them, great.
I mean, that's the funny thing about right now is like, even as much as we're talking about this and as much as I'm saying like doing stand-up gives me life and inspires me to do the rest of my life better.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to be out you know, like I
don't want to
if
go
you
to
have
like a
if you promote a
speakeasy and
show,
be like the one person that dies.
yeah, exactly.
And like, you know, like I feel like that would be my personal luck. I'd be the one person that died at this show where everybody was having a fantastic time.
Totally.
You know, after like this entire time of avoiding it, just the one time you go out. But yeah, I don't love it enough to like go risk it right now either. Like I can wait.
I mean, I've seen some people doing like outdoor shows and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that
might
cool.
work. That
Yeah.
might work. I could be down, but like going back into some stuffy bar with the doors closed and shit.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, dude.
It didn't seem that safe when there was no COVID. It doesn't
Right.
seem that safe where there is. Yeah, like I'm not sure what to tell you.
We've definitely performed in some sketchy bars.
We've definitely performed in some sketchy bars. In fact, do any funny sketchy bar moments or sketchy show moments come to mind? Do you have any funny stories?
Just weird people that talk to you, like,
Like what?
oh man.
You do meet some interesting people. Like I remember talking to Ernesto Ledesma, and we talked about this guy that we met that told us he was like a former CIA intelligence officer.
Oh, awesome.
And that he had like flown in by helicopter to Area 51. And that same night we met this like old guy that dressed like a priest that sold Viagra and just sketchy and weird. Comedy is a weird journey. You meet all kinds of people.
Were you in the high desert for?
Yeah, exactly. You know who I'm talking about.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. It took about 3 hours to get there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly.
I know who you're talking about.
Dude, right now, no
It
offense.
was a fun show, but
Great
there's
show.
some weird people at that bar.
Great show. Interesting people for sure.
Oh,
That was the
yeah.
only time. I don't even know if we brought it up on the podcast with Ernesto, but this is the only time I met people that were openly pro drunk driving. And it's like, what? I looked around me though. I'm like, yeah, we're at a bar in the high desert.
Yeah.
That
Just gonna
checks
hit some
out.
tumbleweeds on
That
the way
checks
home. That's
out.
about it.
I guess.
Maybe a meth head.
Who am I to challenge your culture? I'm the outsider, right?
Absolutely.
No, I mean, do any particularly weird people come to mind when I mentioned that?
Oh man, I'm trying to think if there was like somebody who had like an oddball story like that. I don't think I've had anything that trippy. Just sort of like, you know, weird moments walking down the street in Hollywood, or or other bars along the way that it may not be in LA. But nothing crazy like that. But you know, you just put yourself in these weird situations for the love of the game, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Where's your favorite place to perform so far? Do you have like a favorite show?
There's definitely something magic to, like we were talking about, like performing at the clubs, be it the store or that's not the only club I've ever performed at.
You ever perform at the Haha?
No, just the open mic. I mean, I've been on the main stage at the Haha, but not on like a show, just the mic. That's a cool. It's a good room.
It is a cool room. It's an underutilized room, I feel like.
Totally. Yeah, it's well built for comedy.
Definitely. You should talk to Ali. I think he does a show there. Well, again,
whenever
did a show there. Yeah, whenever comedy comes back. Ali Malik, shout out.
Hell yeah. I mean, me and Paul have our room at Lincoln House that you performed at.
That's a beautiful room.
That's a fun room.
That's a really good room.
And when that room is full and that room is hot, dude, it's those laughs roll through there as well as any club I've ever been in.
Dude, that was a very cool thing to witness, watching you guys start that room from nothing and build it into a legitimate show. Like, what was that like the entire time? Like, you've never produced anything prior to that show, right?
Yeah, which was part of the reason why when Paul and I started talking about it, it was sort of a tag team effort.
Yeah.
Paul has a lot of good connections, so we just sat down. We sat down and we started thinking up like lists of dream gets we could get. So we had we tiered it out. I'm not going to say who was on which tiers, but we had this is a top tier of people we probably can't get, but we can try. Here's a second tier of people we can probably get, but they might cost us a lot of money. And here's a next tier of people we can for sure get and we can probably afford. And so we started checking off the lists of the people we could get. But I mean, it's pretty amazing, you know.
If you just try, you'd be surprised what you can pull
insane.
off, right?
Yeah. I mean, I know you had Rodrigo on this podcast, right?
Yeah, I had Rodrigo on here. Rodrigo Torres, shout out.
Shout out Rodrigo. Yeah, he headlined the show for us at oh yeah, man, yeah.
What's Up Fool podcast. Sorry.
Them too. Shout out Felipe.
Yeah.
Like he needs them.
I know, right?
But yeah, dude, we had Rodrigo. We had Jamal and Toby from Dope Dealers podcast. We had Dean Delray.
Dude, yeah, and it's awesome. Like, you go into this place, and I don't think that did they even have live music there before?
Yeah, dude, they were like,
okay.
They had like blues and jazz and stuff like that.
But definitely no comedy, right?
No, they'd never had comedy before.
It just seems like such a perfect room for comedy, man.
It even has the brick wall back there.
Yeah,
dude.
like
it's like it's set up for it.
And it's just, I don't understand why it's the Lincoln House still. Like, there is a beautiful portrait of Abraham Lincoln in like Technicolor for some reason. But it is a beautiful restaurant. If you guys are ever in Covina, right?
Oh yeah.
Check it out. But yeah, man. So as growing as a producer and growing the show, has that made you ever think about wanting to do that professionally, or maybe even open a club down the line?
I mean, that would be really cool. I have thought a little bit about, you know, when things come back.
Yeah.
I imagine there's going to be venues that close and stuff like that, which is going to suck.
Yeah.
But it's going to kind of leave an opening for those of us who are still willing to grind it out, who are still willing to hustle and try to drum it up and do it right, you know?
Right.
So I've given it a little thought, but, you know, nothing more than just sort of like passing fantasies. But
I feel
it would be really cool. I don't know. I've just bought this house, so I'm not sure that I've got a lot of like spare revenue lying around to start.
You never know,
something
dude.
like that.
You can roll it into an agreement.
You
Just
never
roll
know.
the dice, right? Like, I don't know. No. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see this next year or 3 or 5 or who knows. Yeah, like what's the world gonna look like when it stops spinning? Essentially,
Everything's so weird right now.
I know. I'm hoping that like housing will go down, but I'm surprised. Like, even now, they say like 33% of like of Los Angeles is moving out, but rent pretty much staying the same.
Yeah.
Like, they don't give a fuck at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah, like Lisa Ott had mentioned this, and like I looked into it because I was like, oh, might be a good time to look at housing prices. Nope, unaffected.
He moved, didn't he? Or is he moving? Something like
I
that.
think he might. I'm not sure.
Shout out Lee.
Shout out to Lee. He's
We
an
love that
awesome,
guy.
nice guy. Yeah, seriously. Remember performing with him in Santa Ana?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I remember we were leaving, and he'd asked me, like, as we were walking toward the parking garage, like, is this a bad area? And I was like, it's gentrified now. Like,
Yeah, Lee's done Lincoln House too.
yeah. Oh, no, he did. Yeah, he has done Lincoln House, but what I was talking about was
No,
the
yeah, the one at McFadden.
McFadden Marketplace, yeah.
Yeah, that was one.
Missed
That
that
was another
too.
one I filled in for Paul. Yeah, that was fun. That was a fun
That
night.
was a nice. It was a fun night.
Weird little mixed mic on that patio, but always a good time.
Superman. I miss comedy so much.
Fuck, me too, dude.
Can't stress that enough. Like, I took for granted all these strange places you can just pop up and do time at.
Hell yeah.
It's a weird concept too, that you can just show up and there's these like interesting backgrounds set up for you to come and like shout your madness at a random group of people. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
dude. And that people are receptive to that.
Yeah.
That they're like, hey,
Sometimes
have
they
you got
enjoy
some
it.
weird shit to say? Like, come and say it here.
Yeah, exactly.
Please and thank you, you know?
I know, dude. Did you hear about House of Pong? Shout out to Angel Hara
Oh, yeah.
and Calvin.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess House of Pong is gone forever, though.
They closed the
They're
restaurant or
moving it,
something?
though.
Oh, okay.
So the original location's closing, but apparently they're coming back with something stronger.
Oh, that'd be cool. Hopefully
Yeah.
they get it back, and that show's fun.
I gotta admit, yeah, like it was not the most perfect circumstances at all, but it was like one of my favorite places to go do time.
Absolutely, dude. It's like
Like-
it's one of those spots that's definitely not set up. It's not a club.
It's
not
not
at
a
all.
club at all.
There's no stage. You're
It's-
performing in an L-shaped corner of a
Yeah,
room. like-
behind like two pillars.
yeah,
Like-
it's terrible. It's terrible to perform in from like a logistical standpoint, but
The
that
vibe, right?
dude, nothing but love in that room. The bartenders
Yeah.
were about it. Calvin was about it. Angel is another like for the love of the game type of comic. Like
Yeah.
she's dope. The comics who go there, like
Everybody in there is kind of a for
Is that-
love of the game. Like that's a
Totally.
for love of the game spot.
because that show didn't even
Right.
start until like 10, and it's out in Claremont.
I know it went from like 10 to like 1 sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? Like, But yeah, dude, that was so much fun. Just surprising these random people trying to eat whatever it is that you would call that, like fusion.
Yeah, whatever it was.
Yeah, yeah, like, you get burgers or like pad thai, whatever.
I remember
Like,
seeing some calamari once
yeah,
or twice.
like, yes. It was really good food too, though.
Oh yeah.
I'll give them that. But yeah, I always had so much fun just showing up there and like seeing like a family that had no idea there was comedy being set up, watching people bring in like giant speaker, mixer
yeah.
board, mic stand, mic. What's going on? Like, and
It's like
then all our
comics.
crazy asses
Comics walking
filling
in,
the
smelling
hall.
like weed and
Yeah,
cigarettes
exactly.
and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. These people sad or angry? I can't tell.
Yes.
Exactly. But yeah, shout out to the old House of Pong. I will miss that place.
You won't be the only one, buddy.
Yeah. But so, do you have any hobbies that are keeping you busy now that we don't have comedy? Do you do anything else? Hiking or? I mean, you just got the house. I'm sorry. Like, I imagine that takes a lot of time to like get a house
Yeah.
together the way you want it.
Yeah, it does. I just planted a
Very
tree.
beautiful, by
That
the way.
sad looking little tree over there. I planted that today.
Nice.
Shout out to my avocado tree.
Oh, shit.
But yeah,
It's a gift that
normally I
keeps on
play.
giving.
I play sports and stuff. I could play softball.
Yeah.
And I was playing hockey for a little while, but there's no such thing as sports anymore either. All the rec sports have been canceled for I don't even know how long. But
Yeah, man.
I also busted I kind of like retired myself from hockey. I separated my shoulder
Ooh.
right before lockdown, dude. It was the end of January.
Ice hockey or?
Yeah, ice
Okay.
hockey. I was skating for a loose puck. I was playing defense. Couple of offensive skaters were chasing me down. The puck went into the corner, slowed down. I overskated it, just took a tumble, fell right into the wall, and bam, popped my shoulder out. And then was kind of
Fuck.
out of commission, dude, for a few weeks. And then right about when I was starting to get healthy enough to maybe start back doing anything, and the whole lockdown started. So there's not been any sport since I injured myself.
Yeah, dude, it's a terrible time right now. There's not a whole lot of escaping from the COVID, unfortunately, and not
Yeah.
much you can do. You can go hiking still. I guess if you want to be adventurous, you can go out there and like surf and stuff. Although I've heard conflicting information about whether or not you get it from the ocean.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, like I don't know. It's unfortunate, and that sucks, man. But yeah, like, did you have to have surgery or anything?
No, luckily I didn't want it. I mean,
Yeah. So you just popped it back in place.
no, they don't even do it. I don't know well, this is going to be great podcasting, but I don't know if you can see, but like that's my
Oh yeah, there's a
collarbone.
very visible
Oh, yeah.
bump between where his shoulder and deltoid should not have any connection.
Yep. So I learned a thing when I hurt myself. A separated shoulder and a dislocated shoulder are two different injuries, which I had no idea. The dislocation is when your arm pops out of socket, and they pop that one back in. A separated shoulder is when your shoulder blade and your collarbone separate, and they don't pop that one back in unless it's super extreme, and they'll do surgery. But mine was like right on the verge of being like a needs surgery repair, and but the doc suggested just healing it up, doing physical therapy. It'll always look ugly like this, but it's pretty normal. I get some pains now and then, but nothing terrible.
That's
But
great
when it happened,
medicine.
it was awful. Well, I mean, they doped me up. I couldn't go to
Yeah.
work for a couple of weeks. They doped me up and sent me to physical therapy. So
Do you feel better now?
a lot, yeah, dude.
That's
I can move it around again, and I don't really feel it most of the time, but every once in a while, like if I sleep on my right side or something, sometimes I wake up a little stiff.
Dude, physical therapists can really work some miracles sometimes.
It's
like
crazy.
super highly undervalued in terms of like societal impact. I feel like we look up to like doctors and cops and like nurses and stuff like that, but not as much praise as there should be for physical therapists. So
Yeah.
shout out to the physical therapists out there. So is there anything else that you think you would have liked to do other than what you're currently doing, man? Like working for SpaceX during the day, doing the comedy dream at night, and waiting for COVID to die down, right?
Dude, I've lived a lot of lives. I mean, I've worked a lot of jobs.
You ever work for Pete's Place?
No, I worked at Ralph's though.
Okay.
I worked at a grocery store. I worked at a Starbucks. Um, I mean, there was a moment in my life I grew up really really Catholic, and I even like went so far as to like I lived for 6 months in a religious order.
Oh
So
wow.
it was like
Is that like a priesthood thing, or
I mean it was potentially going that way.
so you thought about becoming a priest at one
Yeah,
point?
dude, I was pretty Catholic.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
How old were you when this was going down?
23, 24.
Wow. How did this not come up already? And like, what? Just one day you decided this isn't the life I want to lead, or
I mean, I was really in it, really, really in it, and I felt called to it in a big way.
Yeah.
And so I went off. Exploring my vocation. I lived with a group of Franciscan friars up in the Bay Area,
uh-huh.
and
And those are like monks that live in San Francisco.
yeah, monks is kind of like a weird word. Franciscans use the word friar, which is just like an
Okay.
old word for brother, but like if you think of like Friar Tuck, like
Okay.
that kind of like those robes and stuff like that, that's kind of what they wear. But it's not like they weren't like up on a mountain or something like that. Like they were just in Berkeley, in a house. Like we had an old apartment building, like one of those old like 1920s apartment buildings.
Yeah.
And they just kind of opened it all up.
Cool.
So there were like rooms on the different floors and stuff, and just lived there. But it was one of those things, man. After a few months, I started to feel like I was living with like 10 other dudes in this like community, I guess, and I just couldn't shake the feeling of loneliness. So I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like I stuck it out, feeling that way for a while, and just felt like, well, if this is the way I'm feeling, this probably isn't the right place for me to be.
Did they say like that's a normal thing, or
I mean, I talked a lot about it with like when you're doing something like that, like you usually are working with what they call a spiritual director, who was one of the friars that was at like another location that I was pretty close with, and I was talking to him about it a lot. And it was like when I made the decision to go home, he's like, yeah, I kind of had the feeling he's like, I was hoping that maybe you'd come to the decision you didn't, that wasn't what you wanted, but he's like, I had a feeling about 2 months ago that you were going to end up going home. So
you didn't bother to mention it?
well, I mean, I
No.
think he was kind of like a hands-off sort of dude. Like he would
Yeah.
kind of give me advice when I directly asked for it, but he kind of liked to stand back and
See where you guide yourself. Or,
exactly.
That's cool, man. That would have been a very different. Well, maybe not. I mean, Sam Kinison was apparently a reverend
preacher,
or something.
yeah.
Yeah, a preacher before he became a comedian.
I feel like there's like a
That's-
few of those things. Like it's like
There
there's like
is-
ministers, there's lawyers. There's like a handful of things where you see these people pop up over and over again.
Right, there are definite parallels in their
Mhm.
lives that like can be and skills that can be applied to the other trade. But you never regret that or look back on that.
No, I mean at this point, like that feels like definitely a right decision. I
Yeah.
question a lot of my choices, but that one I'm like,
Nah.
I made the right choice.
That was absolutely the right choice. It's funny, man. All right, well, we're going to start winding down. But before we get going, I always like to ask people this weird question that always seems to throw them. But if you could go back in time and tell your younger self something, like some sort of bit of wisdom to help your younger self through life, does anything come to mind?
I mean, I think like not only with comedy, but just with life, dude. Like, I am such an overthinker and such like a second guesser. I think I would just tell myself just to not be afraid, which is odd because I just told this story about like discerning my religious vocation, and here I am like that's essentially like that's a quote from scripture. Jesus tells his disciples, "Do not be afraid." But like that, I was just always so nervous of making mistakes, and
Yeah.
you know, at the end of the day, dude, like I've learned so much from my mistakes, and I've grown so much from my mistakes that I just wish I could go back like 20 years ago and tell like a teenage me, don't worry, like fuck up, you know, like it's
It'll
gonna be
all
fine.
work out,
It's
right.
gonna be fine. Yeah, just do the things that you're afraid of doing. It's all right. Like, don't be stupid, don't be reckless, but don't be afraid.
There any things that you want to absolutely get done before you're too old to get them done?
I mean, here and there I come up with something, but more or less at this point, man, like, I want to keep making comedy. I want to just grow, you know, like, I don't know what that looks like, how that goes down from here. Like, I don't always know what my life looks like. I'm not like really great at visualizing my future, which maybe I should probably work on. I don't know. People say it's important, but
I mean, if whatever's important to you is the only thing that matters.
I think so too, dude. I mean, like, I just keep trying to do the things that I like. Like, now that I've gotten older, a little more confident, a little more, I don't know, maybe like rigid. Like I don't want to do anything that I don't want to do. Like, you know, obviously, like, nobody really wants to go to work every day, but I do that because it gets me where I want to go. You know,
Right. There's
And,
compromises to be made, but yeah, for sure, dude. Like,
I just want to keep making cool stuff. Like, whatever it looks like. I just,
Yeah.
like, just keep moving forward. I just want to keep growing.
yeah, dude. And if there was any bit of advice that you can give to the world at large that might help them in their journey, does anything come to mind?
Fucking don't be a dick. Like, there's
Oh, dude, that's a big one.
there's so many people
Such an
right
important
now.
one, yeah.
I feel like wherever you lie in, like, our cultural spectrum or political leanings or whatever, like, if you're on the left, if you're on the right, like, you might have a point. But if you're being an asshole, nobody's going to care.
Yeah. Now, plain and simple, politics aside, don't be a dick to people. Don't be a dick, and they won't be a dick back.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, before we get going, is there any closing words, favorite quotes, places, anything you want to promote?
Oh, man. I mean,
Books, maybe.
follow me on
Whatever.
Instagram, I guess. Like, I haven't been posting much of anything, but it's just Jeff_Turman. But I haven't been big on social media. Social media has been kind of a thing for me right now. Like, I've been trying to step back from it a little bit. It's just been such a distraction. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't had a lot to add to the conversation. And before the shutdown, I was kind of using it as mostly a promotional tool.
Yeah.
And, like, there's no shows to promote right now, and whatever. But occasionally I sneak on there and say something. So, you know, if you want to catch those things, then you can check me out on Instagram. That's usually where I'll be if I'm going to do anything on social media. But yeah, dude, I don't have a lot to promo right now. I'm just trying to make my way through this pandemic world with the rest of us. And
Dude, it's all that matters. It's all right.
absolutely.
All right, man. Well, before we get going, too, I always have everybody finish by recommending a song that is somewhat meaningful to them, near and dear to them. What do you got, man? Is
Yeah.
there any song that in your lifetime that has meant a lot to you or that people should go check out?
I'm so glad that I thought about this before you came over.
Me too, man, because I forgot to mention it. And
lucky for you, I'm like
Yeah.
I'm the guy that's listened to all of your episodes. So
yeah, oh, that's true. And you know, I want to say thank you so much, dude, for being so helpful and encouraging this entire way.
dude, that's what this is about, dude. I mean, for us, like, for the grinders, the hustlers, the love of the game guys, like, we've got to support each other.
I
And
hope
if we're
so,
not,
man,
then we're doing something wrong. Like,
yeah,
because
there's no
even though,
reason
like,
not to.
dude, I mean, stand up is such an individual game, but at the same time, like, you don't go anywhere without your community. Like, we have to support each other because it starts and ends with us, you know. But yeah, dude, of course, I've always admired your hustle, and
No, thanks, dude.
you really, it's very apparent to me, watching at first from afar, and then, like, over time, like, as buddies, like, it's very apparent to me, like, that it's super important to you to put out quality material and to
Thanks,
do your
dude.
thing, and it means a lot, man. Like, I appreciate that. I appreciate your friendship, and I appreciate your hustle, man. So I'm happy to do it. I'm happy that I get to be one of the people that you trust to look at your stuff and help you edit and
Well,
be a part of the process
fucking
for you, you know?
Shit, dude.
I'm a sentimental
Thank
fuck
you,
right
man.
now, bro.
Yeah.
But
On
song
that note,
stuff.
right? Yeah.
Anything
No,
by Tom
seriously,
Petty.
dude.
Of course.
Thank you.
No, man. Like, you know it. Like, we're we're all in this thing together, dude. So I'm always happy to support in whatever way I can. I'm glad that that gets to be a little bit of a more active role in this friendship. So it's cool. It's an honor, man.
I appreciate every bit of input you've ever given me, man. But I'm sorry.
No, you're
So,
cool. I
Tom
started to
Petty.
move past that. I was like, no. Yeah, dude. Anything
Yeah.
by Tom Petty. Tom Petty's been like a massive thing for me. Like I always.
Did you grow up listening to a lot of Tom Petty, or?
No, that's the thing. Is like I grew up kind of just like liking him, hearing him on the radio or whatever, and then particularly like there's two albums. There's an album called Highway Companion, which is just by Tom Petty as like a solo artist, and there's an album called Echo, which is Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Not like the more famous ones, but they're a little sad. They're like breakup records. They really helped me get through my divorce.
Is there any one track?
Dude, I'm gonna go. Well, I had to shout out Tom Petty just because he means that much to me.
Yeah.
Big ups to heaven, Tom Petty. But I think for me, one of the tracks that I love to listen to now is by a dude named Tyler Childers, which I never listened to country music before. He's a country artist, and that
Definitely
track.
not where I thought you were gonna go,
Dude, I know
Yeah.
it's not like it's definitely not my normal. It doesn't suit me. Like I'm still like very much a South Bay kid. Like you can tell, that's my style. That's kind of like the way I talk. But yeah, dude, Tyler Childers. There's a song called "Shake the Frost," which is really really moving. It's a little bit of like a slow down thing, but it's a very meaningful song to me.
All right, man. We'll Shake the Frost by Tyler Childers. What is it, Tyler Childers?
That's it.
You heard it here first, man. That's going to be a great song in your future. Look it up today. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jeff. Congratulations on the house and on SpaceX launch going successful.
Thank you, Danny.
Yeah, and dude, yeah, seriously, thank you just for being an awesome guy in this game. Definitely a pleasure getting to know you more and more. And I hope that whenever comedy comes back, we get to be on the stage again real soon.
Dude, when comedy comes back, we'll be on the same stage again soon.
I have a feeling we will have to be on the same stage soon, or we will not be on the stage. Yeah, but you know what? So be it, dude. So be it. Yeah, we'll make it happen. And
Absolutely.
everybody out there, cross your fingers that we come up with a cure and a better plan and a way to get comedy back into the limelight, I guess.
Wear a fucking mask.
And wear a mask, man. Don't be an asshole. Again, don't be a dick.
Don't be a
again,
dick.
like if you can just prevent the accidental transmission by wearing a mask, not to turn this into a political thing, and it isn't a political thing.
No,
it's a science
it's
thing.
science.
Yeah, like just wear a fucking mask.
Yeah.
Just be cool about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, from Pomona, California, my name is Danny Frank, and this is Jeff Turman. This is Danny Frank's Walks of Life.